Hello everyone. Thank you for being here for this session about artificial intelligence and the ethical use of such AI tools. Uh, Today, I will just give you a short, brief intro about some ethical considerations, and afterwards, our colleague Bonnie from CERT will explain you more about this trustworthy AI framework, which was just uh, voted from the Commission. So I will start the brief intro topics. So just for the beginning, some definitions of what artificial intelligence, not what it is, because mainly most definitions like trying to explain what something is. Here we will try to explain what artificial intelligence does. So AI enables technical systems to perceive their environment, deal with what they perceive, solve problems, and act to achieve a specific goal. This is a definition according to the EU Parliament. And another definition, it has to do with the fact that AI generate outputs such as predictions, content, recommendations, or decisions that can influence physical or virtual environments. At the same time, we can say that this first definition, it's more like from a technical perspective, like presenting the technical aspect somehow of AI. But this is one thing. There is another thing. It's more like the technical aspect of AI. So from this perspective, it's not only about technical processes, but it's also about social dynamics shaped by human values, interests, norms, and institutional influence. So technological systems such as AI and the development are simultaneously social phenomena, reflecting the complexity of humans' interaction and potentially unjust social structures as well. So we can see some other like approaches regarding AI, which has to do more with the governmental and social change that affects political landscapes through the dissemination of information, which is not like an official definition, as to say, as the previous. And another, not definition, but approach that is very interesting for resilience and in general for all the STARTS project is about how artists can think about alternative ways of using AI technology. And this brings us to what Michel Elam has used the term of artful intelligence. Michel Elam is a professor at Stanford of Humanities and currently a senior fellow at the Institute for Human Central Artificial Intelligence, and refers to the goal of making AI and the arts mutually beneficial through this term of artful intelligence. And as she states, this can dissolve the techie fuzzy divide, meaning that like this is a divide where it explores the idea of like techies are like the engineers and the scientists, and fuzzy like more like the anthropological and social perspective. So it comes from the humanities and the social sciences. And this divide, as Michel says, it doesn't like make sense anymore. And we need to explore the idea of like liberal arts, for example, and technical literacy are not like mutually exclusive. So we can ask what art can do for AI, and not only, of course, what AI can do for the arts, as we see a lot of like discussions about artworks that been created with AI. Here is an example of an ongoing research project by ... which was presented at the Milan Design Week this year. Actually, very recently, I think the Milan Design Week is currently ongoing. This is a very interesting project because it's like a reflection on the responsibilities that we have as human beings in providing data, reducing biases, and training a technology that probably can revolutionize our lives in order to ensure equity. So this research project from this art studio or design studio, like it goes very deep in questioning who generates information, who provides the data sets, who trains the models, for what purposes, and stuff like that. And actually, they have like two different models, like creating these like insects, and they are trying to show that sometimes there is a difference on how we represent data and who we represent. And it's like to raise awareness on how we can empower persons from like groups that are not represented to build also their own narratives. So from another perspective, like when we're discussing about generative AI, there is this analysis, no analysis, there are statistics, very recently statistics from 2024, from this year, where we can see some percentages about how many artists are using like these generative AI systems, if they trust them, if they believe that are ethical, and stuff like that. What is like is important here is to understand that most of the AI generators are based, like, for example, DALL-E and Midjourney, that produces like images, is a text to image thing. They are trained in one single data set. So mainly they have like the main like base is the same, about I think 5.8 billion images, or others like that are not about images, they're about music, like Jukebox, again a tool that developed by OpenAI, where they have trained like the data set with 1.2 million songs. Um, all of them. We can see here a percentage, for example, 89% of artists that worry about copyright laws that are outdated because of that, because they artists haven't been asked, like from anybody, to use their artwork in order to train algorithms. So here we can see like this, there's 70.3% of artists that say that they would like to be asked in order to use their like work in training algorithms. So here, yeah, it's a big issue and big discussions about that. We will later on see like more details here. I present like more the issues and the challenges. And a very important thing about generative AI, as many studies have shown, is like that they amplify stereotypes. Here is a research done by Leonardo Nicoletti and Dina Bass. Leonardo Nicoletti is a data journalist and a photographer, where they asked generative AI systems to create photographs of like some jobs, occupancies. So, for example, a color photograph of a waiter, of a doctor, and what they have like understood is that it amplifies both gender and racial stereotypes about uh, jobs, positions, and they're setting a question about, okay, we know that people, like humans, are biased. And if we intend to feed the systems with biased data, of course, the models will continue to be biased. So it's like not a question. Yeah, it's about like this black box of AI that like everyone like saying that AI are black boxes. So if we think, if we reflect of the previous work of dot dot dot, where they said like this, they use like this mirror metaphor. It has to do with how actually we humans are biased and how like we feed data. The data that online are available are like our data, and if we don't be careful enough, these models will be like, of course, biased. So we have often like read reports in the media of that, of how AI has acted like with bias, or they are distort, that hallucinates. And the question, and like, of course, it's difficult to trust AI because we don't understand exactly what is going on and how the decisions are made. Another recent, like global study from the University of Queensland in 2023, sorry, involving 17,000 participants for 17 different countries, tried to understand and see the percentages of like how the public perception of AI and if they trust AI. So most people are ambivalent or unwilling to trust the AI system, where in contrast, 39% report that they are willing to trust AI systems. And very often citated example about like how the data are fed to a machine and how the machine learns through this data and can end up biased, as to say, is this husky wolf example, where the data that the people that actually trained the model, they used, they didn't notice the fact that the data that provided about huskies and wolves are that huskies are always photographed with a snowy background and wolves not. So as the model like worked very fine, the model didn't make any mistake. It made one mistake, so they tried to understand like what happened and why. And after that, they realized that the way that the AI like making a prediction of what this picture is, if it's a wolf or if it's a husky, it had to do with the pixels of the snow and not actually with the face of the dog, or yeah, actually that. So when people like they did an experiment, and when like people at the beginning saw the results of this AI model, they were very happy with it, and they said that they trusted the model. After somebody explained to them that how the model worked, they didn't trust it. So this brings us to the very important thing about transparency and explainability of these models that will help like the people to trust them. And also it brings us to a very I think important conclusion, is that everything has to do with data. So these models don't produce anything; they are not biased by themselves, etc., etc. It's very important to have in mind the data and how we provide data and all these questions. So for that, in ReSilence, we try to like to keep like the users and the artists, of course, you and other members of the consortium, like that they not come from a technological background, in the loop and involved, because it's very important to, before starting to designing anything, first to decide the main functionalities of the AI that we're gonna develop, recognize the values of the AI system. And when defining like the requirements and the high level architecture, a very, very important question is, it's not only can I do it, it's should I do it? So probably if we have like an enormous amount of data and we have access to data, probably we can do a lot, but a very, very important question is, should I do it and why should I do it? A second thing is about inclusivity in the design process. So we ensure that those impacted by the AI systems we develop have a voice from the beginning. So we need to involve the users from the beginning, the people that actually, and the problems we're trying to address, like involve the ones that are first concerned. The very important recognition, as we already said, is about the inherent biases that many models probably have, and the data that we decide to use. So a very important question is, where does the data come from? And then it's about the measuring of the consequences of the AI models. So we need to understand and test and research on the societal impacts of what what we have developed. So after that, after we have a model and we like have outputs, we need to understand why did it say that, why should I trust it, and stuff like that. As we saw with the Husky example, they afterwards understood what happened. And of course, for that reason, we need to be open to alternative design approaches and solutions. So if we see that something needs to be changed, we need to change it so to lead into better ethical outcomes. So this is, we also have like some references. We will also share the slides with you so you can like have access to these. And I will give the floor to Bonnie, who will like explain more in details about this Altai framework about trustworthiness. So Bonnie, your floor is yours. The floor
Yes, thank you very much. Will open just a minute my camera to see me and believe that I'm not AI designed. So low. But I will close my camera because due to, let's say, internet issues. So, yeah. Hello again. My name, as Natalie mentioned, is Theonis Pathia. I'm a criminologist and I have a legal and ethical background. And the purpose of these slides would be not, let's say, to overwhelm you with legal and ethical issues, but just to give you an overview regarding the AI Act that has recently been adopted by the European Commission, along with the trustworthy list of AI. So generally, as we all know, AI has been fastly evolving in our lives, and it has been also introduced in artists. And there are a lot of examples in healthcare, agriculture, food safety, education, media, sports, etc. So has brought a lot of advancements, but also may generate risks and can cause harm both to public interest, to fundamental human rights, and generally these harms have to be somehow regulated. Since April 2019, a specific group, the high-level expert group on AI, presented specific guidelines in order to ensure that artificial intelligence outcomes can be trustworthy. So, according to these guidelines, trustworthy AI could be defined with three main pillars: that should be lawful, that should be ethical, and that should be robust. Lawful, meaning that it should respect all applicable laws and regulations. Ethical, that it should respect ethical principles and values as enshrined in other regulations, both in EU and in other national regulations. And robust, that both from a technical perspective and a societal one, that could take into consideration all the inputs provided. There are 7 key requirements. I will not tell them right now, just because in the next slides they will be properly analyzed. But these requirements have a specific assessment list that its main objective is to assist all producers of AI technologies to verify that their application are okay, deemed perfectly okay with the facts that the AI Act and trustworthy AI should, let's say, consider. So, okay, we move to the next slide. Regarding the EU AI Act, the purpose of this regulation is mainly to improve the functioning of the internal market and to give to us a uniform legal framework, in particular for the developing of AI systems. This specific regulation is mainly, let's say, enshrined and applied in accordance with the values of the Union. So, as you can see, and only one back. One slide back, if possible. Yeah, thank you. If you can see here, there are 3 main articles that they are the main pillars of this EU AI Act that come from the Treaty of the European Union. The first one is the second, Article 2, that, let's say, outlines the fundamental rights and freedoms enshrined in the treaties. Article 114, that establish the way that the free market inside the European Union works. And the Article 16, which is mainly outlines the way that the personal data and free movement of data is handled inside the European Union. So the 3 articles are the basis of the EU AI Act. Another issue is that this regulation, this EU AI Act, applies to all AI systems, but not to the ones that are made exclusively for military defense or national security purposes. So, next slide. Here you can see a brief timeline on how we got to the final, let's say, adopted text for the EU AI Act. And this has been started, the discussions after the ethical guidelines for trustworthy AI after 2019. Discussion started on April 2021, where the first, let's say, text of the EU AI Act has been proposed. And then on 2023, after several discussions, there was an initial political agreement. Then there was a voting to the parliament. And then after some discussions on the 13th of March 2024, the final text has been approved. And we are waiting in May to have the finalization and adoption of this act. So, next slide, please. What are the main objectives? These are the 4 that you can see in the screen. The EU AI Act aims to lay down harmonized rules on AI. It's the first attempt to enact a horizontal AI regulation. And it is something that there is not in other, let's say, countries, nor in America, nor in any other region. But this is the first text that has been adopted and has provided regulations for AI. It aims to protect fundamental rights, democracy, the rule of law, and environmental sustainability from unacceptable AI outcomes, high-risk outcomes, and also to ensure that innovation is boosted inside the European Union. So, next slide. Here you can see the main terms of the EU AI Act that also needs to be taken into consideration of every person that produces AI systems. As Nefeli has already mentioned, what is AI? AI is a machine-based system that operates with varying levels of autonomy, but not without human oversight, that can be adapted after deployment and can generate outputs that can have a specific influence, either direct or indirect. Risk is another main pillar of the EU AI Act, because EU AI Act is a risk-based approach in order to, let's say, ensure that AI systems are deemed proper for the community. So risk is a combination, as you better know than me, of the probability of an occurrence of harm and the severity of the harm of this harm in specific populations. And the other two is the provider, so natural, legal, or public authority that provides, in short, the AI system, and the deployer, the persons or the public authorities that they get this AI system in order to work with it. So next slide. Here you can see very well outlined 3D pyramid, where you can see the 4 levels of the AI system according to risk. As we mentioned before, the EU AI Act is a risk-based approach. So it, let's say, categorizes 4 levels, 4 specific levels of risk. In the bottom, there are the applications that they have no or minimal risk. So they can be easily applied and deployed to the society. The level 3 is applications with limited risk, and the most important are level 2 and level 1. Level 2 entails applications with limited risks. I will add in the chat the link to the document of the EU AI Act. So if you go through the document, you can see that from Article 6 onwards, there are specific provisions about high-risk systems. And the most important ones are the ones that fall under the unacceptable risk, but with a lot of exemptions. Some examples regarding unacceptable AI risks could be considered, let's say, biometric categorization systems that are based on natural persons' biometric data, such as face, fingerprint, etc., but they are used in order to deduce or infer specific opinions of the person, specific religious or specific beliefs that they have, in order to discriminate them against race, sex, life, sexual orientation. So these AI systems that do only that without specific, let's say, justification are unacceptable. So as you can see, the AI outcomes and AI technologies that they, let's say, harm the fundamental rights of each individual and are under the unacceptable risk of EU AI, and all of this can be found under Article 5. More or less, under Article 5, there are these specific applications such as manipulative systems, biometric categorization of persons based on sensitive characteristics, general purpose social scoring in order to discriminate and exclude specific persons from jobs, loans, etc., etc., exploitation of the vulnerabilities of person in order to, let's say, intrigue them into some things dangerous or criminal things. And real-time remote biometric identification in specific spaces without any judicial orders. And there are also some other applications that I believe that now it's we don't need, let's say, to go deeper in it. So next slide, please. As we mentioned before, the EU AI Act entails the main premises for assessing the trustworthy AI based on real-time methodology. And so these are the 7 requirements that need to be assessed in order for an AI, let's say, technology to be approved and to be used further in the society and from other relevant actors. So this list has been discussed and developed over a period of 2 years, from 2018 to 2020, and it's grounded in the protection of people's fundamental rights and in a way to minimize risks that may emerge from AI technologies. So we will see each one of these 7, let's say, pillars separately. So the first one is the human oversight. What do we mean about human oversight? The main premise of human oversight is that the HAI system shouldn't, let's say, function alone without the proper control and the proper oversight by a human. As you know, if an AI system can take decisions without having the human, let's say, to approve or to, let's say, give feedback or to, let's say, ensure that these decisions have taken into consideration all aspects, then this system should be banned and should, let's say, work in that way. So in all AI systems and all technologies have to enter the human, have to have the human in the loop, and a human in the loop approach. In that way, the AI system can make informed decisions and be aware to respect the fundamental rights. Why is this important? Of course, as we mentioned, the AI systems should have a supervision and should, let's say, produce results that they are societally acceptable. And as I mentioned before, this can be, let's say, achieved by adding humans in all the specific processes. So moving to the next pillar, it's the technical robustness and safety. What does it mean? It means that the AI system has to be developed and used in a way, in a manner that allows robustness and resilience against attempts and security. So the system has to be secure and resilient, has to be safe, and has to have, let's say, some backups in order something goes wrong. It has to be accurate, reliable, and reproducible. So this, in that way, it can minimize any risk that may, let's say, be presented during the use of the system. Why this is important? Because in that way, AI-based systems can, let's say, have a lot of changes in their environment, can have changes in their input, so they can ensure that all these changes have been done in a secure environment. And the way that this requirement can be met in practice, as you can see, is the technical robustness, safety, and reproducibility, and also to ensure that everything in that way is written and there are specific procedures of each organization or of each individual that, let's say, follows this procedure and let's say, put them in action in order for the AI system to work. So moving to the next one, the privacy and data governance. The title is self-explanatory. The AI system has to be developed and used in accordance with privacy and data protection rules. And processing the data has to meet high standards in terms of quality and integrity. So the AI system has to take into consideration all the relevant legislation and say legal considerations regarding quality and integrity of the data and ensure the legitimate access to this data. We will say in brief in the end some things about the GDPR, but generally also we have to take into consideration that AI systems have to, let's say, function under the General Data Protection Directive and regulation. Why this is important? Because the AI systems have to guarantee that our personal data, the data that they are included in the system, will not be revealed to anyone else, and that as citizens, as persons, we're going to be able to exercise our rights as they have been, let's say, described in GDPR, Article 6 and onwards, and Article 15 and onwards, and also that no one could take our personal data in order to harm us or to discriminate against us. And how this requirement can be met in practice through data privacy, specific data protection impact assessments, and also specific trainings and information around the current regulation on data protection and privacy. So the next one is transparency. Being transparent in AI system is to, let's say, allow to the people that they are coming in contact with the system to know what the system is about. To allow, in other words, to explain to the humans on what it does and what are its limitations and its capabilities, and how, when the people interact with this AI system, how they can be affected or how they can be, let's say, have an added value to their lives. This is very important for trustworthiness, because if individuals do not know what they deal with, as Nefeli has already mentioned, they don't trust it. So if we are transparent on what we need to achieve and what we want to achieve through this AI technology, that would be the best way in order to make people trust us and use this AI system. And with being transparent, I don't mean only to, let's say, promote the good, in brackets, things, but also the risks that this AI system may entail and the mitigation measures that we have taken into consideration in order to, let's say, minimize these risks. And this requirement can be used for specific, let's say, on top of my head, disclaimers on, let's say, the AI system or specific trainings or specific, let's say, inputs or, let's say, something that can be easily seen by the humans in order, by the users of the system, in order to know what the system is about. Next slide is again on a very important fundamental human right of individuals, the diversity, non-discrimination, and fairness. What does this mean is, again, self-explanatory, but generally AI systems have to be developed and used in a way that they will include diverse actors. They can, let's say, be trained with a wide range of data and a wide range that does not, let's say, exclude specific, let's say, populations. So they can produce results that they are not biased and they are not discriminatory. Also, the AI systems can be accessed at, let's say, a level possible with equal from all participants, and to ensure gender and culture equality and cultural diversity. So they should be at the range possible inclusive and or not, let's say, make biases worse, and ensure fairness and equal treatment. So why this is important? This is important because they will. This can bring AI to all population, to a wide range of population, and can broaden its impact and minimize the negative effects that automated decision may have from biases that they are hidden inside, let's say, the way that the AI system works. And how can this work? Let's say an example from AI systems that, let's say, they produce some specific results could be, as I mentioned before, to be trained with diverse data and well-rounded data and not data stemming from one population. Another example could be that the people that they work in producing this AI system could come from diverse backgrounds, cultures, and bring, let's say, together their inputs in order to produce, let's say, non-discriminatory AI system. Next slide is to ensure the societal and environmental well-being. So this is, again, generally speaking, self-explanatory. AI-based systems can be sustainable, can be environmental friendly, and can benefit the society, not only at present time, but also in the future. So in other words, this is important because it can, let's say, foster effectiveness and can also, let's say, upgrade and not upgrade, make better and be effective on environment and climate changes, etc. So let's take as an example the new hybrid cars that they work with an AI, let's say, system embedded in them. This AI system could, let's say, take into consideration how gas emissions could work in the best way possible. And I'm talking about hybrid that work with electric and gas in order to be eco-friendly and in order to minimize, let's say, the carbon footprint in the society. There are a lot of, let's say, ways that this requirement can be met in practice from, let's say, specific policy practices that AI producers can take into consideration to specific technical solutions. And the last, the next slide, please, is accountability. What does accountability mean is that AI systems have to be carried out with a high level of responsibility. This is a critical component, and the critical component of accountability is auditability, which provides the necessary transparency to evaluate AI algorithms, the data they process, the methodologies employed, etc. So there have been mechanisms need to be in place in order to hold producers of AI systems responsible for the way that the AI systems function and the impact that they have in society, and ensure that any harms may be caused can be mitigated. So this is important because of stability, sensitivity, relevance, and feasibility, as you can see. And this can be, let's say, be met through specific certifications and standardizations that have been already in place and are also in plans to be added by the UAI Act. So this was in all the 7 key pillars of trustworthy AI. Here is, let's say, a study from the University of Queensland on the way that these 7 principles can have been scored. And as we can see, data privacy and technical robustness are on the high levels of the list, but all of them are considered, let's say, very, very important for the producers, the AI, from the producer's point of view. This is something new that it has been introduced by the UAI Act, but let me say that this is not something new in the, let's say, thoughts of the people, because all technologies before AI, when we produce new technology, for sure we take into consideration the human factor. So as you have seen, all these 7 pillars take into consideration the human factor. So that's it. It is very important also to take into consideration in any new AI system that we may produce. In the next slide, you can see a specific, let's say, how different, let's say, foundation models regarding EU AI Act and can be, let's say, scored. You can have this, it's a study. So this is something that has been done before the UAI Act, and now this is something that will continue in order to see the impact of the UAI Act in the next, let's say, generation of UAI of AI components. So this was in a nutshell the trustworthiness of AI. I'm adding in the chat some important links. And Natalie, you mentioned that for sure we will share this presentation, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay, just a minute to add in the chat before going to the personal data in GDPR. I don't know if we have any time because it's it's almost
yeah. I would suggest that if anybody has questions on this matter, because the next presentation is about like how, for example, we deal with the personal data and the GDPR that we collect not only in ReSilence, but in all the projects that we are working on, and it has to do with consent forms. What is personal data? I know that some of you are like interested in that, and it's also to inform you that we have like, I can go very quickly, a committee, an ethical committee established for ReSilence. So yeah, okay, I don't know. So, I don't know. We can take questions first, and then if we have time, we can go like through this very, very quickly.
Yes, we can go quickly to the GDPR, or I can go quickly to the slides because it's very, very. It will take me 5 minutes, and then we can have some questions if needed. As you can see, I have put it for let's say links. The first link is that trustworthy AI and the recommendations from the high-level commission, and the others are around the UAI Act, with the last one to be the, let's say, final text that has to be, let's say, voted and accepted in May 2024. So just for your reference. So moving to GDPR and personal data, this will be common as a common knowledge regarding personal data. What is personal data? According to Article 4 of GDPR, is any information that can be identified and adapted to a person, such as name, email, telephone, age, specific biometric data, IP address, if we say about cyber issues, etc. So these are data that need to be protected. And in the next slide, another important, let's say, issue about personal data is the concept of processing. So what is processing? According again to Article 4 of GDPR, it's any way that can, let's say, collect, record, deal with the personal data, make, let's say, further process them, make specific statistical inference, combine them. Generally, everything that we can do with the personal data from their collection stage, from the stage that we collect them from a specific individual. And in the next slide, show why this have to be protected. It's something that we all have in mind, because no one wants our personal data, our name, our personal information, our, let's say, email, everything without our consent to get to the wrong hands, because in order for any reason, processing, and have a risk that we can be harmed, that our rights can be violated, and also that we can experience some very, very sad specific, let's say, acts. So how can we, let's say, process personal data? It's not that this type of work is, let's say, banned. For sure, we can process personal data, but under a specific legal basis. First of all, and the most important legal basis, is to obtain a specific informed consent from the individual that we need their data in order to be processed. In that way, we, let's say, inform the individual on the reasons why we need this data, on in what, let's say, processing activities we're going to use this data, where are we going to store them, who is going to be the controller of their data, so who will have the overview of their data, who will, let's say, maintain them in a secure environment, and how, as individuals, they can access them, and how they can have their rights of, let's say, not having, again, the informed consent, etc., and also till when we're going to store this data, and how we're going to destroy them or to erase them for future reference. So an informed consent, along with this specific information that are usually included in an information sheet, are the first and foremost the legal basis and local basis in order to legally process personal data. Also, we need, as let's say, processors to take into consideration some other important facts, such as the data minimization principle. With that, we mean that we collect as many data as we need. Just to give you an example, if you need, let's say, to evaluate, to proceed in evaluation after piloting procedure and have an evaluation form, you will not need, let's say, the address of the participant. If you need the address of the participant because it's specific data, then you have to explain to the participants why you need their address. Just as a justification to send them some post material in order to, let's say, engage them in future studies. If you don't need it, because it's not essential for your study, so you need to erase this type of data. So that's the data minimization principle. Also, we need to take into consideration where we will store the data, the personal data, and also what techniques we're going to adopt in order to either pseudonymize or anonymize. So, next slide. Here you can see the main rights that all humans have according to Articles 12 to 23 and 77 of GDPR. It's the right of information. The right of information is what I have already explained before, to be informed on why we need their personal data. The right to access, to be able to access at every time the data. The right to rectification, let's say, to correct any issues in their data. The right to erasure, the right that they can tell us, no, please delete my responses and the data that I provided you. The right to restriction processing, data portability, right to object and lodge a complaint with the national authorities. So these rights have to be, let's say, ensured and that all human rights are entitled to them when we process personal data in any instance, in any activity that we may, let's say, proceed. Next slide. As you can see, this is where everything is included. It's the General Data Protection Regulation. It has been in force since 2016 and applicable from 2018. And its aim is to protect personal data at all stages of the processing. Also here, just a minute, it's a very simple site where you can search of all articles regarding GDPR with specific examples. So, next slide. I believe, Natalie, would you like to proceed with this, what we have done in ReSilence, or would you like me to share the slides? I don't know.
Yeah, we can go very, very quickly, I think, because if like for each one of you, if needed, we will like have discussions more like in details. So very, very quickly that we need like to have ensure that all activities require human participation. They need to be adults. We need to have the consent, as Bonnie said. They need to be involved and like in a voluntary basis, of course. And as already mentioned, all personal data abide to the data minimization principle and probably pseudonymized. If we collect data, we will delete it at 5 years after the end of the project, unless a longer period is needed. Let me see here. Okay, so here we have like an example, like we have a consent form of participation information sheet where we use in all our projects. Bonnie, I think you can say more.
Yes, yes, for sure. For sure. Just to let you know that we have, let's say, produced and developed a general information sheet and informed consent form where we try to include every possible, let's say, impact and everything that we have to take into consideration. This informed consent, as you can see, it has a lot of yellow, let's say, lines. What we mean here is that this is adapted based on its activity that entails human participation. So we check the human participants, their specific characteristics. I mean, if they are adults, if they are minors, if, let's say, in what kind of activities they are going to participate, either study or in a workshop or a pilot, and what kind of, let's say, activities they are asked to perform. I mean, participate in a pilot actively, or let's say check a demo and give their feedback. And accordingly, we, let's say, try to adapt the informed consent and information sheets, and of course, with, let's say, specific guidance from the partners that they lead the relevant activities. So that's some forms that they can be used also in activities of resilience that entail human participation. And next is that also in resilience, we have set up a dedicated ethics advisory board with 3 members that they are experts in specific sections of course, related to resilience outcomes and activities. And all of them have signed relevant declarations, non-disclosure agreements in order to ensure that everything that they have been presented stays within the consortium and within them, and they will not, let's say, confide them to anyone else. And this ethics advisory board is really, really important because its main aim, as you can see in the next slide, sorry, Nefeli, is to consult us with the activities, provide their feedback based on their expertise, their opinion, their suggestions on what we can do in other way, what we have done right, what we have, let's say, to adapt in order to be aligned with all the ethical and legal requirements. And they are going to monitor all the ethical issues that could arise during the resilience project, and also to try to provide us guidance and feedback in order to better mitigate the risks and propose specific corrective actions. So the final slide, and I believe that's the end of the presentation. Some, let's say, key steps that we need to have in our mind before, let's say, starting any activity is that if we have activity that entails human participation, we need to obtain their consent. So initially, we need to properly inform them on why we need them and what we need from them. Then we can, let's say, answer to all their questions orally or in written form if they send us an email, and make sure before starting the activity that we have obtained their written consent or oral one if they cannot, let's say, provide a written consent. That's something that it can be discussed on a base-to-base level. Provide them with all the contact details of the coordinator and of the legal and ethical responsible with whom they can discuss, let's say, any queries, any concerns, the coordinator regarding the project in general, and the legal and ethical responsible of this activity of the specific, let's say, project partner, in order to discuss on their rights, etc. Underline in all stages of the activity that they are volunteers, that they can, let's say, leave this activity, they can withdraw their consent at any time without any, let's say, negative consequences for them, and without providing any reason. They can simply leave the activity and ensure their well-being, their safety, before, during, and after the end of the research activity. And there is also a link regarding the EU ALEA European Code of Conduct. It's the Code of Conduct for Research Integrity, and also here is the link. It is also embedded in the presentation, but you can access it here. It's a specific, let's say, code that is followed by the European research community as a self-regulation, and in order to ensure that all activities that entail humans and include individuals, they follow and they abide with the legal and ethical issues, current issues in the European Union. So, Natalia, that's all for me, and the rest. Sorry if let's say, we bombarded you with a lot of information. For sure, we can have a round of questions if time allows. Otherwise, we can be at your disposal for everything through mails, etc., in order to answer to all of your queries.
Thank you, Vonnie. So yeah, I don't know. If anyone has any question, we can discuss it now, or as Bonnie said, you can like probably we will upload everything to the wiki, so you can like rewatch, or you can like study with the slides if you have like specific questions for your research and your project. Yeah, one.
Natalie, just to add here that it might seem intimidating generally, but it isn't. Just have in mind, it might seem intimidating, all of this, the UAI Act, etc., regulation, but it isn't, because if we have the human in our mind, all of the rest comes, let's say, naturally. And I believe that there is a hand of Caroline.
Yeah, Caroline, hello.
Ask something quickly. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, do you hear me?
Yes.
I do have a question, because I'm also working like outreach-based, also in my practice in general, and I'm struggling with like implementing these like quite big and intense procedures to follow in my practice. So also regarding the quest of inclusion and representation in the project, I don't see myself doing outreach-based interviews, and before having the conversation, bringing out a very long, detailed form. So I don't know if you have any advice on that, like how to implement this kind of procedures in a practice that is like outreach-based, where a lot of like, trust is important, but I don't see myself going out with a lot of, so I was thinking, my question is more like, do you know if there exists like a kind of other type or other format where it can be used in public, yes, outreach-based interviews? I don't know if I'm clear. So I'm just wondering if like the last document, for example, we saw.
The consent.
The consent. Is there another format?
Another way, okay.
Yeah, or another way
I think,
to introduce this request for consent.
I think Bonnie can ask this question, but as she said, probably it can be like not written, right, Bonnie? So are there any other ways?
Yeah. First of all, it can be, let's say, minimized for sure. So it can be adapted to the needs of each activity. If, let's say, Caroline, you believe that a 3 or 4 page wouldn't fit your, let's say, research, for sure, we can find a way and work together in order to minimize and reduce this text. In this text, 3 main inputs have to be, let's say, included. What is the activity? Why we need their participation? And also, for sure, how we can secure their data, and have a reference, not list them, have a reference that we will, let's say, comply with the GDPR regulations. So these 3 need to be included in the informed consent. for sure, we can think of other ways in order to inform them. But in order to be on the safe side, that is why we ask in some way to be written, either in informed consent, in a mail, somewhere that you have informed them of these three, let's say, specific issues. That's very important. But we need to get their, let's say, approval, their consent let's say, their signature that they have been informed of all of this and they agree to participate. That is something that we cannot, let's say,
Okay.
We cannot avoid, to be honest. I said that we can get their informed consent orally if they have any issues in writing and producing this in writing, or if they have any other issues. So in that way, we can have their consent orally and recorded in order to be sure that we have obtained their informed consent. But this is something that we need to talk in separately, if you would like, and to find a solution in a bilateral call, if you want.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have a question as well, but I don't know how to do this.
Never mind.
This consent forms, are they only necessary if we are recording some kind of like personalized data, or are they necessary in all times? Even if it's not like really anonymous data that just tracks like there's an interaction at this time with like this result, but has no like, yeah.
But you have human participation, right?
Sorry?
You have participants, you have humans that they participate in your activities.
We have
no?
humans that participate. They are using an interface on their device. But in the way that we are recording, we don't save any like connection, which device is doing what. We basically really only record there was an interaction at this time with this result.
But you have to take their consent that they participate in this activity, yes. And to state in the consent that you don't gather any personal information. Just 2 words. That you
Okay.
agree to participate in this activity. We inform you that we're not going to gather any personal information for you. No, nothing. And just to be on the safe side.
Yes,
But
this can also be something that is just like in a ticket email or like
yes,
comes with
or
the ticket
before,
that is bought.
for sure, or before, because if you don't, let's say, gather any personal information, you can do it orally before the beginning of each activity. I mean that, as Nefeli has mentioned, this meeting will be recorded. So we give our consent to Nefeli that, okay, we know that this meeting is recording, and be aware that this meeting gathers personal information. So
Yes.
we give our consent orally. But this has been also recorded, and Nefeli has obtained our consent orally that we agree to participate. So in your case, that you don't gather any personal information, a ticket, as you mentioned, would be or a mail informing them that you will participate in this activity, and no personal information will be gathered, will be optional, for sure.
Okay. I'm also interested in another thing that you mentioned before, but this has nothing to do directly with our project. It's just really out of like general interest. You mentioned that there were those pillars of how critical different uses of AI are.
Yes.
And I didn't quite get like if I do something that is like semi-critical, for instance, I do like face recognition. I want to make a project that uses face recognition. Like, I don't know, for instance, I have like a face recognition based ticketing system or something like that. Then I would need with the AI Act need to get like a permission to do that.
It's not a permission. It's that you have to ensure that you have all the technical and organizational measures in place that, let's say, the faces that you will gather and the personal data that you will gather through this system will not further be used in order to harm the people or to produce biases or discrimination. You mentioned that you will do it for a specific project, but if these, let's say, phases will be used in order to discriminate, let's say, Stelina against Nefeli in a job application, that would be an appropriate use of AI. So you need to ensure that, yes, I have my system in a way and produce it in a way that will produce only these results and nothing else. So, yeah.
Okay, so basically it goes very much along the line, but I don't know the term now, but like data legislation, like privacy legislation was before that. So it's basically the same thing for AI, but like how the regulations are implemented works the same way.
Exactly. And there
Okay,
are
I
a lot of
understand.
systems like the data protection impact assessment that follows GDPR. There are also similar systems that will ensure all AI producers in order to comply with the risks, the relevant risks of their AI products. So stay tuned for this because the EU will, let's say, bring forward such systems, like the data protection impact assessment. So you are perfectly right. This is the same.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alex. I just one thing, Alex, are you going to use like something like a mobile app, right? Or so, Vonnie, is it the case that probably when the participants download the app or something, they can like tick and read
It's not, yeah, I mean, it's not an app, it will be web-based. Basically,
okay.
you open a website, but we can do the same thing, like similar to a cookie warning or something like that.
Okay,
That, of course, yes.
Okay. Good. I don't see anyone else. It's we're a quarter late. So thank you, everyone.
Nefeli, just one thing. So with our app, I try to make it, outside Google Play, just downloadable from even my little server without cookies, without nothing. So it will be totally untraceable because I don't care to trace. I'm just interested that people try it, So, but when they log to download, maybe we should put something, or if we host in the University of Genova servers or in a Dropbox folder or something, should we take care of this or?
I think I don't know. You just save. You save something. You save the sounds. You
go on a folder. You take the app. You install in the smartphone. You use it.
Yeah, but in your case, it's like I'm not sure if you save the data that you are.
No.
Because I think since you don't save the data, there is no need, right, Bonnie?
Then the app access the microphone of your telephone to analyze the sounds, but the app, the system asks you the
permission for the.
Yes, exactly.
The
but I don't know. We will write. I don't want to hijack everybody. We can exchange a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Okay, so again, thank you, and you can email me, and I will CC you with Vonnie, who is like the right person to discuss in more details if you have any other questions, and for some of you that you already like started your demos and research and events. Again, we will, together with Vonnie, create the necessary documents for you to proceed. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nefeli. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.